There's a good reason for that. Over the last 5 years, we've seen the volume and velocity of regulatory change increase tenfold. So the headache and burden that regulatory professionals have to deal with on a daily basis of manually monitoring regulations has increased that much as well. So automated regulatory intelligence helps firms basically streamline the manual processes that they would otherwise do without automation. Typically, we're dealing with firms that are either manually doing this. So as I mentioned, they're kind of throwing people at the problem or managing their compliance practice with Excel spreadsheets. That introduces risk. Or alternatively, they may have different systems and solutions in place or data sources, but different disparate ones, disconnected. So there's fragmentation there, which creates inefficiencies. So that's what we typically look at. So when we come in, we transform that operation and move away from the protracted, disconnected, unreliable, inconsistent, and we create consistency and reliability on the centralized platform. I'd say there's a number of risks, of course, but first and foremost, there's a risk of missing a key piece of regulation. We deal with firms of all different sizes, and in most cases, we're able to identify and remediate certain gaps in the existing inventory. On an ongoing basis, though, as I mentioned, manually monitoring regulations, there's a chance that something gets slipped, that something gets missed. Second is human error. So assuming that regulatory professionals are capturing all regulations relevant to their business, you then have to look at what does the human do? Well, the human's supposed to decide, is this applicable to my organization? If so, who's it applicable to? And how do I classify this piece of content? What's the actual underlying meaning of it? Add together things like extracting the obligations, translation. There's always that element of human error, so that's another risk. And then lastly, the volume and velocity of regulation as well these days, and really for the last 15 years, is such that it becomes inefficient to try and manage regulatory change manually. So there's a risk of expense, a very real risk of expense. We're able to identify blind spots before they become problematic for customers. And as I mentioned, we deal with customers of all different sizes and different stages of maturity. And in all cases, when we first start working with them, no matter how comprehensive they think their library is, their inventory of regulations that is, we're able to identify gaps that they simply didn't know they had. So that's a big area. The other is that we're able to centralize everything onto a single platform, as I mentioned, and that creates that consistency, important consistency and reliability on a single platform with a single data source, and in turn, single reporting capabilities for our customers, which go upwards to the board and also obviously reporting as well then to regulators. We have lots of unique points, but I would start with the depth and breadth of our regulatory coverage, which is second to none. Today we're monitoring over 4,500 issuing bodies across 180 different countries, 700 jurisdictions, and automatically translating across 60 different languages. And that database, if you like, or data lake of regulatory intelligence is 3 or 4 times the size of the next nearest alternative on the market. So that's a real unique selling point for us and a real benefit to our customers. Again, going back, we can identify gaps and fill those gaps very quickly. The other point though, which is kind of a good segue from where I just came from, is that with all of that volume of content, you need to have a good engine, a good piece of AI that will filter out the noise from a customer's updates and inventory. So the 99% of noise, Cube is able to filter that out and deliver the 1% of content. How do we do that? We do that with a custom ontology for financial services that we've developed over the last 10 to 12 years, and it's the most comprehensive ontology on the market. And that's essentially the classification engine. So when we look at ingesting all of that content, we can immediately classify it by the actual underlying intent that regulators are driving at. So in turn, that helps with profiling and getting the right content to our customers at the right time. It's been superb. It's been great to be back out at these events and good to see the engagement as well. Customers are keen to talk with Cube and with other vendors here. So it's a really good sign of things to come, I think.